Hi, this is Lara at Elliott Wave Stock Market with a Dow analysis for you after the end of the trading week ending Friday 12th of August and before the new trading week opens on the 15th. This is my daily chart for the Dow. I have only at this stage on the daily chart one wave count for the Dow, expecting we've had a trend change up here at cycle degree, and this is all within a larger supercycle zigzag. Cycle A was a 5 down, B was a 3 up, and C needs to be a 5 down. It will reach equality with A at 5,052.91 points. If price moves below this point, the next target we would calculate is where C is 1.618, the length of A. So it could be below this point, but this is the most likely ratio between A and C within a zigzag. So that's my target. Within cycle wave C downwards, it must subdivide to a 5-wave structure at maroon or primary degree. It can either be an ending diagonal, where all of the primary waves must subdivide into zigzags, or it may be a simple impulse, where 1, 3 and 5 must be 5-wave structures. Within primary wave 1, so far we have 1, 2, 3, and we're expecting a 4th wave. So this wave count is actually expecting primary wave 1 to subdivide into a simple impulse, because so far the structure looks like an unfolding impulse. If this invalidation point upwards was breached, then the first wave down would be a zigzag, and I'd label this as the end of primary 1, and I'd be expecting upwards movement to be a zigzag for primary 2, and cycle C to be an ending diagonal. The depth of this wave in comparison to where we expect C to end up, though, would be pretty shallow, unless the diagonal would be largely expanding. What's most likely is primary 1's going to subdivide into a 5-wave impulse, so that's how I've labelled it. I am aware, though, there are other alternate possibilities. I just haven't charted them. So within primary wave 1, we're expecting intermediate wave 4 is probably not over. I have a question mark here because I have 2 hourly wave counts for you today. The invalidation point to the upside is 4 can't move into wave 1 price territory, which has its extreme at the end of 3 because it has a very slightly truncated 5th wave here. 4 can't move above 11,862.53. Given the guideline of alternation, we'll expect wave 4 black to probably be a flat and possibly a triangle, and a shallow correction, because wave 2 was a very deep zigzag correction. If the 4th wave is a zigzag, and it certainly can be, that guideline of alternation is a guideline and not a rule, so it could be a zigzag, it may still achieve alternation in the length of its A and C waves. If it's a zigzag where A and C are close to equality, there would still be alternation between 2 and 4. Taking you now to the first of my 2 hourly wave. Before we go there, this is Elliott's channeling technique around this impulse unfolding downwards. Drawing the first channel from 1 to 3 and a copy on 2. Wave 4 will probably end within this channel. It may overshoot. It's possible it may end around the upper edge of this trend line. It's really unlikely that wave 4 black is over here in only 4 days duration, and it would be achieving some alternation in structure, but it's still a zigzag. It would have achieved alternation in depth of correction at least, though, because it's very shallow in comparison to wave 3. But what's much more likely is my first hourly wave count, where the low for 3 is this point down here. So far we have a zigzag, obviously complete, or most likely complete, but it's very obviously a zigzag, whether it's complete or not, for wave 4 black, probably over here. This is probably just wave A within wave 4 black, and if wave 4 black is taking the most likely structure, a flat correction, then A must subdivide to a 3. Wave C pink moved a little higher than I expected. My last analysis expected it was over here, just at this point here. That was not the case, and it moved a little bit higher. It's now got a pretty good ratio to wave A pink. It's 23.72 points longer than equality with A. Considering the length of wave C pink is 660.18 points, 23.72 is an acceptable variation. It's less than 10%, so I expect that's fairly close to equality. So if wave 4 black's unfolding as a flat, wave B must be at least 90% the length of A, so the minimum target downwards for wave B is 10,678.81. If wave 4 black is unfolding as an expanded flat, the most common type of flat, we'd expect wave B to be at least 105% the length of A. That's achieved at 10,567.81, so price movement to or below this point is highly likely. The most common length of B in relation to A for a flat correction is between 100 and 138% the length of A. B will be 138% the length of A at 10,322.61 points, so we don't expect movement much below that point. So to summarise, if 4 black is a flat, B should be reached down to this point, highly likely to get to this point or below, unlikely to get below this point. A less likely structure for wave 4 black, because it's a bit less common than a flat, is if 4 black is a triangle, and I've found that a really common length of subwaves of triangles is about 80% of their predecessor. Wave B will be 80% the length of A blue at 10,753.01. So if 4 black's going to be a triangle, we'll expect a zigzag down or a double zigzag down for B blue to probably reach around about this point. Wave B blue, 4 black as a flat correction, may itself unfold as a flat correction, so it may have A and B that makes a new price extreme beyond the start of A. That's why I don't have an invalidation point on this main hourly wave count at this price point here. The invalidation point must be 11,862.53, which is the same as on the daily chart, the extreme of wave 1 black. At this stage, because we don't know where wave B has ended, our target for wave 4 black will remain around about the fourth wave of 1 lesser degree at 11,548.59. When we do know where wave B has ended, we can use the ratio between A and C to calculate a more accurate or more likely target upwards for wave 4 black. It may also stay pretty much the same. We'll see how it unfolds. So the most likely scenario for Monday and probably the rest of the week, or at least most of the week, is a 3-wave structure downwards, probably to this point. It may include a price extreme above this point though, so on the way down we may get a new high above here. My alternate hourly wave count is all the same to this point here, and then I've just moved everything here up 1 degree. It is just possible, because we can see a complete 3 on the hourly chart for wave 4 black, that it was over here. It's fairly unlikely though for 2 reasons. My main reason for objecting to this wave count would be that wave 4 black has lasted just 4 days in duration. That's really brief for an intermediate degree wave. If I've got the labelling degree for this whole downwards movement, this sharp crash and this bounce, if I've got the degree of labelling correct, then this would be very unlikely. Even for a minor degree wave, if we move the whole thing down 1 degree, it's still pretty brief for a blue wave. But it is certainly possible, and this one just lasted an hour, and that certainly is possible. So we have to consider the possible implications of this. If the 4th wave at black degree was over here in a brief 4 days duration, then it's achieved some alternation in structure with wave 2 black. They're both zigzags, but here A and C are very close to equality. Within wave 2, C is a lot shorter than A and it's slightly truncated, so there's some alternation. There's plenty of alternation in depth of correction. Wave 4 black was a very shallow correction and 2 black was very deep. So this is possible. If it's correct, then wave 5 black downwards within it, wave 2 may not move beyond the start of 1. This does have an upper invalidation point at 11,346.67. There's no adequate Fibonacci ratio between wave 3 black and wave 1 that I can find. When we see no adequate ratio between the first 2 actionary waves of 3 of an impulse, we can expect it's much more likely then that the last one, wave 5, will exhibit a ratio to either 3 or 1. The most common and most likely is this first target. Wave 5 black will reach equality with 1 at 10,345.61. If price keeps falling through this point and the structure requires further downwards movement to complete it, this would be our next likely target. 5 black would reach 0.618, the length of 3 black, at 10,019.6 points. So the first target would be favoured. Wave 5 black only needs to be a complete 5-wave structure downwards. So for both my main hourly wave count and my alternate, I'm expecting downwards movement this week from the Dow. The main hourly wave count expects it in a 3-wave structure, and this alternate expects it in a 5-wave structure that can't make a new price extreme. So it's only the structure of downwards movement which we're unsure of at this stage, and which will differentiate between the 2 wave counts. So that's all for me today with your Dow analysis. If you would like daily analysis of the S&P 500, you'll find it on my site.